this hybrid teaching, I think it's the future of the music education, and I think it's really something that we're going to continue using. So I think that as a teacher, we have the role. We have to know how to use it, to find the best way to use it, to be ready to know the tools, to know how to use them, and really to be ready for the future, because the future is today already.
My interview guest is the pianist Marija Aupy, which I want to introduce to you. Marija Aupy is an international concert pianist and founder of the Marija Aupy Piano School. Marija is very passionate about chamber music, and together with the saxophone player Philipp Geis, she is seeking as a duo new repertoire and creating a dialogue between musical styles. Besides performing, she is also a passionate teacher, and she shared with me in our conversation a wonderful concept which she did with her piano students online, which is a great idea to try out. Hello Marija, and welcome to this interview. Thank you for the time that you're taking to share with us your experiences.
Thank you for having me. Hello, Aloisia.
I read a lot about you that you're, of course, teaching since a long time, and you have a lot of experience as a classical pianist and also with your students. But for sure, online teaching was something new also for you. And I'm curious about your experience. What was the biggest change for you to face-to-face lessons when you had to start teaching online?
Well, I think that I can now say that it was quite a revolution, because everything was new, and we did not expect to switch online so suddenly. So we were not prepared. The biggest change for me, obviously, is that all your marks and all your habits disappeared. So that everything had to be reinvented, reorganized, rethought. And from that point of view, I really felt just like at the beginning of my career, like doing my first lessons. So I had to learn how to be a teacher. And 2 years ago, I had to learn how to be an online teacher. That was really the biggest change. Everything was new, and all had to go through the adaptation period. I think that was the biggest change.
So it was not just the struggle to learn like the technical issues and the setup, but also the way of teaching was different for you.
Exactly. And well, the first thing was definitely the technical side, because we didn't have tools or material. We had to really learn how to use it. But it's not only us, it's the students also. And I'm thinking about my small pupils. They had to have their parents involved. So the lessons had to take place when everybody was free, parents and pupils and teachers. So it was a whole new organization, and everybody had to learn the tools, how to use them. And of course, little by little, we realized that we couldn't do lessons the way we used to do them. We had to prepare them in advance, to think about what are the things that are going to work, what are the things that are probably not going to work. So really to reinvent everything, and really everything was a question.
Would you say that you also changed methods of teaching or communication? How was this for you as a pianist? Like regarding to your instrument now?
Yes, well, it definitely is different. And I now know that if we do a face-to-face lesson, I would probably go for new pieces and take time to discover the text, to analyze the rhythm, to find good fingerings, or to simply find the right place on the piano, because the small ones would know which octave would be the right one. So things like this, or to do four hands, or to use the space to work on rhythm. These are the things that I would keep for face-to-face lessons. And if we are online, I would much rather go for the interpretation, talk about colors, and doozzoo is good for that because the sound is so good that you can actually talk about colors. Talk about phrasing, talk about interpretation or the style. So those are the things that really work well on distance. Yes, so I would definitely do different things if we're online or face to face.
Which advantages do you see also in teaching online now that we are not in a time where we have to teach online out of necessity, but that we can maybe choose to change? Because you said you pick certain things to the lesson when you see the pupil, and you keep certain things for the online lesson. What other advantages do you see?
Well, first of all, it's true that we had to teach, but some of us didn't teach. I have colleagues that didn't teach because they felt like I have to do it this way, so I don't feel very comfortable. I won't do it. I really had the feeling, a very positive feeling about online teaching, because it was the only way, but it was a way because we didn't have the other possibility. So it was the only possibility, and it was a wonderful thing to be able to continue. So yes, it was very uncomfortable at the beginning, but it was wonderful at the same time. So I think that was the biggest advantage at the beginning. We could continue. That was wonderful. But today, I would say that it just brings flexibility. Many of our lessons today wouldn't do because we couldn't do the face-to-face model. Many situations when the student is away or not feeling very well, or many situations like, excuse me, my garage door is frozen, I can't go out. Mm-hmm. Let's just switch and connect and do the lesson. So this kind of flexibility is really a good thing, and we can combine now and go for really a hybrid teaching. So all the situations where we couldn't work, we actually can, because we have the online possibility.
Yeah, it gives new opportunities also for the students to learn, and opens also the horizon for both teachers and students in the music education. And you already said the word hybrid teaching. Like, how do you integrate digital tools in face-to-face lessons and in online lessons? How do you use them personally?
Well, I realized that it is a very good combination, because I do have my favorite books and methods. I would call them traditional, that I know that work and I like working with. But I see that some students really like digital tools, and it works very well for them, and the combination of the two really works very well. So during the lesson, I always feel that it's a booster to bring an app or something digital during the lesson. It is always a help. I would use different apps for reading, for ear training, for rhythm training, for very simply sometimes just discovering the repertoire or listening to different interpretation and comparing them. So it boosts, really. It's something that brings a little change and something fresh. So in face-to-face lessons, different apps I use them more and more, actually. Not for a very long time, but just for a few minutes, and it just works, brings something a little peps, and then we continue. And on online, It would be quite simple, actually. We would just use like recorder or metronome. It wouldn't use many. I personally don't use many digital tools while we are online. It's already digital. So yeah, I think I would use more apps actually during the face-to-face lessons and combine that. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And me personally, as a classical violinist, that's why I also love working with doozzoo and using the tool, because it already integrates all these apps and a few of them that you don't need additional ones like the metronome,
Yeah.
like the tuner,
Yeah.
and even for ear training, you can use the keyboard.
Yeah.
And which function do you like in doozzoo? Which one is your favorite?
Well, I won't really use the tuner. That's
Of course. As a pianist, you don't need so much.
But yes, I would use the metronome, and the little keyboard is very fun for my students because
Yeah,
they are pianists. So
I show that the people know what we are talking about.
yeah.
This is the app, the keyboard, which is like, this is an amazing tool, I know.
Yes, it's very fun for my students. They really love it. It's like a little piano playground for them. So it's really playing and having fun at the same time. They really appreciate it. I mean, it's really useful. But I think the recorder and the metronome would be number one and two.
Okay. Yeah, this is the recorder I show here, which is really great. Also, I use it to film myself when I want to show certain exercises that are important. And it's made it so much easier. Then I have to film after the lesson and send it via email. So
Yeah.
this is actually definitely a helpful tool. You said at the beginning of our conversation that you really like the sound of the sound quality of doozzoo.
Yes.
Did you had also some other experience, or why did you mention especially this?
Well, I really had the feeling that it changed everything because at the beginning I didn't use doozzoo. I didn't know. I discovered it. Well, it was several months ago, maybe 6 months ago, and I used to use different platforms, and it was really. Well, I was happy to have something, but it was quite tiring to always try to hear, and then you can't hear because the sound would disappear. And sometimes I would just go and try to understand or just to look and see what my pupils are playing, but I couldn't hear them really. So it was not very comfortable. And so as the only tool, it was good to have something, anything. But since I used doozzoo, I never had sound problems, and you really have a very beautiful sound, and you can really talk about details and colors. It's very comfortable, and it's very. It really feels like you're in the same room, which is quite incredible. And when you say it, usually people are skeptical about it. So I really think everybody should give it a try once and see it. It's a very comfortable feeling and very nice to do music through doozzoo. And
I
this
totally
is something
agree.
I like about doozzoo, the fact that it was created by musicians for musicians and feels like we are like a big family and being part of the world community. But it's really the people that understand you actually created something for you, a tool for you. So it's really a very nice feeling.
I believe also that many have like these negative feelings towards online teaching because we made so many bad experiences and it was challenging or it is challenges with other things. And of course, it's with the like with the instrument. If you don't have the right instrument that gives you the possibility of having a nice sound, it's very frustrating, because I can imagine also like having a bad piano to play on. This is not fun. And the same is like with the teaching tool. If it doesn't sound, this is like the most important thing for us musicians, to create a beautiful sound. And it's important also to have the right equipment and the right tools for to have this situation and to create this. What would be your message or advice for other piano teachers? Teachers that maybe made bad experiences, or teachers that are like still a bit critical versus online teaching. What is your advice?
Well, I think that we really don't have the choice anymore. I think that it's here to stay. Maybe we thought that it's a period we are going to use online teaching, and then we would just go back to the old days and old way of doing things. But it's not only about teaching or music. It's a global thing. I think that before was before, and what is in front of us it's a different thing. This hybrid teaching, I think it's the future of the music education, and I think it's really something that we're going to continue using. Among my students, there may be 2 or 3 only that really don't like online lessons and really refuse to use it because they really don't feel comfortable with it. And it's not only older people. Some of them, two of them are grown-ups, and one is actually a young man who doesn't like at all being having a distance lesson. All the others, which is a large majority, use it as a possibility. So I think that as a teacher, we have the role. We have to know how to use it, to find the best way to use it, to be ready to know the tools, to know how to use them, and to really to be ready for the future, because the future is today already.
Yeah, that's very nice said. And I think it's especially that thing that we don't have to be scared that it will replace something, but that it's like an addition and it's helpful. And if we see that as a tool, as a learning tool, not just for the students, but also for us as teachers, it really can open new possibilities, new doors, new learning methods,
Yes.
and create a lot of advantages. And I like what you said, that you believe it's not about online teaching, but about hybrid teaching. Because, of course, the personal connection, you can't, there's no way that you can make this just online. The human connection, this is special. We don't need to replace it, but we can add something with it.
Yes.
With the online tools that we have, and widen the horizon and the learning education style, and especially in the music education, give the
Yes,
opportunity.
and I think that I see parents that are very unhappy about their children using so many tablets and computers and telephones, but all those things have very useful tools. So if we use technology to help us in our work, it's really wonderful. Last year, as we couldn't do in my music school, my piano school, we every year has 3 periods, and every period has a different project. At the end of every period, we would do a concert to meet all together and to show the results of our work. And obviously, we couldn't get together last year, so I decided to do it all online. And I created something that is called music boxes, and every music box was dedicated to a style. So we started with the Baroque, and then it was classical, and so on, and with the representative composer, Bach, and then it was Mozart, and then it was Schubert, and so on. And we would work on the repertoire, a particular repertoire for a certain style, and then we would get all together, and my pupils would record themselves And when we would get together, then we would talk during 1 hour about that style, about the composer, and then these musical examples. I would play the recording. So it was a way to do a concert. It was instead of doing the concert. And it was really lovely because we had 5 meetings like this during the year. It kept the school year very dynamic. And at the end, when we got back together, I mean, to face-to-face teaching and concerts, all of my students asked me, so are we going to do music boxes again? So it was something that really was appreciated. And so as we can continue and do things together, it is still something like a possibility, like something different, something new. So it's not here to, as you said, it's not to change our way of doing and to say no more concerts ever again, or we won't see each other ever again. It's something, it's a plus. I really feel that it's a plus, and as a plus is of course very positive.
Thank you very much for sharing so openly your experiences and also for this nice input, because maybe this is also a good idea for others to try out and to test, and not just for concert, also for like technique lessons together, group lessons and all this kind of things. And I wish you and your students for the next time, both for face-to-face lessons but also for the online lessons, all the best, and that you continue staying this open-minded, which is very nice to see. And yeah, thank you for your time that you took.
Thank you very much for having me, and really congratulations to the doozzoo team, because it is really something. It's a fantastic tool. I really talk about it and encourage colleagues to test it, because it's very nice. It's really like a family feeling when you're on doozzoo. There is a kind of intimacy about it, and it's not intrusive, and it's really very nice. Thank you.
We invite everybody to join the doozzoo family then.
Absolutely.
Then thank you for your kind words.
Yeah.